Hi, the topic of my presentation is the challenges of acquiring Mandarin as an additional language among undergraduate students in Malaysia. Presentation will start with introduction, followed by literature review, research method, findings and discussion, and end with conclusion and suggestion. Introduction. The second shift of Malaysian education system envisioned to ensure every child is proficient in Bahasa Malaysia and English. At the same time, they are also encouraged to learn an additional language. This is to equip all the Malaysian students to be globally competitive. In addition, variety of languages are also offered by the universities. Being multilingual, the students will be more competitive in educational, business, and social interactions. Acquisitions of an additional language foster the ability of global communications and cultural exchange among the graduates. Despite the benefits of enhancing personal, professional, and cognitive development, the students are facing a lot of challenges in learning additional language. The objectives of these studies are: first, to determine the achievement of the undergraduate students in learning Mandarin in the local university. Second, to investigate the challenges faced by the students studying Mandarin language and also the factors of the challenges faced by the students. Literature review. Challenges faced by the learners when acquiring a language are multidimensional. Asman and Go study the learner's attitude towards the languages. The use of online learning application was studied by Olga and Michael. Tan and Tan investigated the difficulties in mastering the Chinese characters, while studying the language learning situation in the institutions was conducted by Ang. And recently, Gabeloyeva and Numorodova found that learners face difficulties with differences of grammar structure, vocabulary, and pronunciation between the acquiring language and learner's first language. Research method. The researcher employ mixed methods approach to investigate the challenges faced by the learners in acquiring Mandarin language in a public institution of higher learning. The sample of the study comprised 114 undergraduate students who were learning Mandarin language as an elective course in the university. The research tools used in the studies are questionnaire and the written work produced by the learners during the lessons. The 5-point Likert scale and multi-answer questionnaire were answered by the undergraduate respondents through online mode. The descriptive statistics of quantitative data was analyzed to find their frequency, while content analysis was conducted to analyze the qualitative data. Findings and discussions. 61 out of 114 undergraduate respondents agreed and strongly agreed with they face challenges when acquiring the Mandarin language. Though more than half of the undergraduate respondents agree that they face challenges in their Mandarin language acquisition, the overall result of the undergraduate respondents during their beginning level was good. They were 53 of them performed excellently, and less than 20% of them score C+, C, and C-. Types of challenges. The undergraduate respondents face the problems of personnel, facility and environmental, teaching staff, and the problem of differences in language structure between Mandarin and their first language. The personal problem and the differences in language structure between Mandarin and the first language of the respondents were the main challenges faced by the respondent when acquiring Mandarin language. This personal problem. Interest. There was no student agree or strongly agreed that they have no interest in learning Mandarin. Furthermore, 82% of them were certain that they have interest in learning the language. Practice. 55 respondents strongly disagreed that they do not practice the language other than their first language in their daily lives. However, 32 respondents who did not use any language other than their first language in their daily lives were certain that they did not use Mandarin though they learned the language in the university. Learning strategies. 37 respondents agreed and strongly agreed that they did not acquire Mandarin language strategically. However, 56 respondents were certain that they had strategy in acquiring the Mandarin language. Differences between language structure of Mandarin language and the first language of respondent. First language distracted Mandarin language learning. There were only 14 undergraduate respondents agreed and strongly agreed that their first language played a role as distraction when they were acquiring Mandarin language. At the same time, 72 respondents disagreed and strongly disagreed that their first language distracted their learning of Mandarin language learning. Differences of language structure complicating additional language acquisition. When comparing the language structure of the respondents' first language with Mandarin language, 22 respondents disagreed and strongly disagreed the differences between the languages complicating their Mandarin language acquisition. However, there was about one-third of the respondents neither agreed nor disagreed differences between the languages complicating their language acquisition. Pronunciation. Malay language. The first language of most of the respondents is a phonetic language. The users of a phonetic language can spell and pronounce a Latinized lexis directly. This is because the pronunciation is closely corresponding to the written form of the words. Mandarin, the acquiring language of the respondents, is a logographic language. The written form of words or the Chinese characters are not representing its sound or phonetic directly. It is a challenge to the respondents to read when seeing the characters. For example, Shu. As a learner with zero basic, it is very challenging for the respondents to be able to read when seeing the character of Shu. Pinyin, the sound system of Mandarin language, it functions as a phonetic notation for the Chinese character. It helps the beginner of the Mandarin language learners to pronounce the Chinese characters. Furthermore, the meaning of the Chinese character is closely related to its tone. For example, Shu with the flat tone means book. Shu with the rising tone means ribbon. Shu with the falling rising tone means mouse. Shu with the falling tone means tree. The challenge faced by the respondents in the study was they were not only needed to learn the three elements of the character, they are needed to remember the tones when learning the characters. They also needed to pronounce the tones correctly to indicate the characters that they were referring. Syntax: the study of how words are combined to form phrases or sentences. There are differences in rule of words arrangement when forming noun phrases. Example, the formations of possessive noun phrases. The arrangement of possessive determinator between Mandarin and Malay language is different. Example, 我爸爸, bapa saya. The possessive determinator plus the noun, 我的, saya punya, 爸爸, bapa. The possessive determinator of punya in Malay language is ignored in formal language. The respondent in the study learns or use only the formal language, that is, bapa saya, instead of saya punya bapa. Furthermore, the respondents with zero basic in Mandarin met another challenge. That is the exceptional situation of the use of possessive determinator. The possessive particle of the in Mandarin is omitted when the possessor of the first person pronoun and second person pronoun. It becomes 我爸爸 and 你爸爸 instead of 我的爸爸你的爸爸. However, the is required as determinator for the third person pronoun, 他, and other proper nouns as the possessors. Conclusion and suggestions. Being competent in Mandarin language may increase the competitiveness of the graduates from the local institution of higher education in the global human resource market. It is not only as a soft skill for communication, it assists the individual to acquire more knowledge. With variety of languages, may activate the brain of the learners and improve their ability of problem solving. Therefore, effective teaching and learning is important. Further investigation on the way of solving problems or challenges faced by the study respondents and effective teaching or pedagogical method are needed indeed. Thank you.